In the 1980s, parents across America were convinced that these men weren't just musicians. They were satanic recruiters. That somewhere inside these records were hidden messages designed to steal their children. And the scariest part? They believed the devil had arrived, and that this new wave of loud, guitar-driven rock meant he was finally coming for their children. It was a new kind of music built around loud, distorted guitars that felt chaotic, aggressive, and out of control. To evangelical parents, that sound didn't feel symbolic. It felt spiritual, like something dark had finally crossed into their kids' bedrooms. They honestly believed that Satan was active in the world and rock music was a tool he could use. So when they saw pentagrams, screaming vocals, dark album art, and kids isolating in bedrooms with headphones, they didn't think symbolism, they thought spiritual warfare. They only started seeing Satan after the music felt threatening. Their fear didn't start with theology. It started with noise, distortion, rebellion, and youth culture they couldn't control. Satan was the explanation they reached for. The music was the trigger. If disco had sounded like Slayer, it would have been called satanic too. Because every band they accused all had something in common: distorted riffs, aggressive solos, and guitar players who sounded like nothing your parents listened to. Before there was Slayer, before there was Ozzy biting the heads off bats, there was Black Sabbath. Tony Iommi's tritone heavy riff sounded darker than anything rock had ever produced. The tritone interval was also known as Diabolus in Musica during the medieval times, which translates to the devil in music. And it was frowned upon due to its harsh sound. But a year earlier than Black Sabbath, there was Coven, an occult-themed band in the late 1960s that leaned into satanic imagery long before metal even had a name. But here's the key. What made metal feel evil wasn't just the lyrics, it was the sound. Heavily distorted, sometimes low-tuned guitars, dissonant intervals, and heavy riffs. The guitar stopped sounding friendly. It started sounding dangerous. And this fear didn't stay abstract. Parents weren't just worried. They were being trained. They were shown videos like this, teaching them how to identify satanic influence in their own children, what music they listened to, how they dressed, what the symbols meant, not as satire, as instruction. This wasn't fringe paranoia. This was institutional fear, distributed through churches, schools, and community groups. This is what moral panic looks like when it becomes policy. By the late 70s and early 80s, a new breed of guitar player took over. Randy Rhoads, Angus Young, Mick Mars, KK Downing and Glenn Tipton, Dave Mustaine, Kerry King, and Ace Frehley. These guys didn't play pretty. They played aggressive, fast runs, screaming bends, and demonic-sounding harmony. To kids, it felt powerful. To parents, it felt like chaos. And chaos always gets labeled as evil. Bands like AC/DC ran into trouble because people claimed their name was an acronym for something sinister. Kiss faced the same suspicion, but their makeup and over-the-top stage show made the accusations even stronger. Many were convinced they were devil worshippers, a charge both bands repeatedly denied. Then there were groups like Venom and Slayer, who learned to lean into the image instead of fighting it. Bands such as Black Sabbath, Venom, and Slayer have said they explored dark and occult themes for shock value, not because they necessarily believed in them. The truth is simple: fear sells. Now, can you imagine the US government deciding what music you're allowed to hear? Because in the 1980s, that almost happened. So when the Parents Music Resource Center, the PMRC, went after music They primarily attacked rock and metal bands because distortion felt dangerous, riffs felt violent, solos felt out of control. From the names of bands to their lyrics as well as their imagery, hard rock and metal was in the crosshairs of the PMRC co-founder Tipper Gore. Dee Snider agreed to testify before Congress after his song, Under the Blade, was accused of being sexually violent, even though it was about surgery. This shows how perceptions can be twisted into an agenda. The PMRC created a list called the Filthy 15, which included artists like Prince, Madonna, Motley Crue, and Twisted Sister. Their target wasn't just bands they believed were satanic. It was any music they considered morally corrupt. The satanic theme, however, was just the low-hanging fruit that could easily be attacked. Frank Zappa told Congress what was really happening. This wasn't about Satan. It was about fear of expression, fear of loud, aggressive art, fear of young people finding identity in something adults couldn't control. Then John Denver made it clear. Even safe acoustic music could be accused of inappropriate behavior. Metal just happened to be the loudest target. Venom made satanic imagery their entire brand. Slayer went darker, mocking the morally righteous. Kiss turned shock into spectacle, not because they believed it, but because controversy sells. The devil became a costume. The guitar became the weapon. In 1985, two kids took their own lives. One actually survived the attempt, and the parents accused the music. And suddenly Rob Halford, Glenn Tipton, and KK Downing were blamed. Not because of cults, because of riffs, because distorted guitar felt dangerous to people who didn't understand it. Same thing happened with Ozzy and his song Suicide Solution. Let's face it, rock and heavy metal music revolves around the guitar. The riffs are what attract listeners. This wasn't a satanic panic. It was a guitar panic. Playing fast scared them. Dark harmony scared them. Volume scared them. The way they dressed scared them. The guitar became the voice of rebellion, so they tried to silence it. If the guitarist didn't write the riffs, would the music even matter? Would the lyrics have even been written? If these players were your heroes, then you already know what it feels like to love something the world misunderstands. That's why this story matters, and that's why the guitar will always be dangerous.